of the Fanboy. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host Justin, get that bum out of here, Turk, and now our producer Jay Nalu is in Dom the Refereegio's stead. For our new listeners, we're a couple former athletes turned coaches that will bring you the week's top national and local sports stories, and we'll be focusing heavily on the NFL, college, and high school seasons, and discussing all the topics using our unique sports perspective and experiences that we have as players and now as coaches. And as always, I like to start the show off with what we call Rock's Rant. Well, most of the time I try to keep it, pretty calm, but I'm going to get a little emotional on this one, get a little excited. What I'm going to be talking about this week is the targeting rule in college football. And we've all known and seen, if you haven't, if you're just new to college football, I'm going to explain what that is, and I'll give you the 2016 NCAA football rulebook language. The definition of targeting is, no player shall target or make forcible contact against an opponent with the crown, which is the top of his helmet. This foul requires that there be at least one indicator of targeting. When in question, it is a foul. Second point, no player shall target and make forcible contact to the head or neck area of a defenseless opponent with the helmet, forearm, hand, fist, elbow, or shoulder. This foul requires that there be at least one indicator of targeting. When in question again, it is a foul. Now, targeting means that a player takes aim at an opponent for purposes of attacking with forcible contact that goes beyond making a legal tackle or a legal block or playing the ball. Some indicators of targeting include, but are not limited to, launch, a player leaving his feet to attack an opponent by an upward, forward thrust of the body to make forcible contact in the head or neck area. A crouch followed by an upward or forward thrust to attack. A player obviously out of the play, obviously we know that, and a player who receives a blind block. I've argued that, but okay, we want to make the game safe. Now, this other question one, a ball carrier already in the grasp of an opponent whose forward progress has been stopped. Now, we've seen plenty of times where someone gets wrapped up, looks like their momentum is stopped, and then they break free, okay? But you're saying if we hit that guy, it's a penalty. A quarterback, anytime after a change of possession, we've always taught our players, the two people on the field that knows interception is the receiver and the quarterback. Go get them, but now we can't do that. And then obviously a ball carrier who's obviously giving himself up in his sliding first. Now, the problem that I have with this rant is it is really affecting college football more than you think. So the situation is, if you are hit with one of these fouls or these penalties, we will have to you will get number one, get ejected. They will review the play. It's a 15-yard penalty, and they review the play. If it is deemed that it was targeting, you are kicked out of the game, and then if you're in the first half, they will go to, you will be ineligible for the second half of the game, or if you're thrown out the second half, you will be eligible for the first half of the next game. And so I don't know for any of you guys that watched the Florida State-Alabama game, one of their top defensive backs, he was held out of the first half because in the Michigan Bowl game, he was ejected for targeting. Now, the problem with this rule is football is a very fast game. Now, this rule was put in place, which I agree with it, is that we're looking, hey, when I was a player, I'm going to tell you right now, full disclosure is always, I knew my helmet was a weapon, and I used it as a weapon. I know if I hit somebody hard enough in the side of their helmet or underneath their jaw, I could possibly break their jaw, put them out the game, do whatever. Now, I was 16, 17-year-old, and even in college, but the rule wasn't there. So I understand it's a vicious and violent game, and that's how we were taught to play. Now, I understand that they set these in for safety precautions, and I understand that. But football is such a fast game. Now, having a helmet, we wear helmets for reasons to protect us because there is going to be incidental contact with the head. So I believe if someone is, and when you watch TV, the purpose of someone being dirty, going at it, or trying to hurt someone, we see that. But a lot of time, these guys are starting into an approach that they can't stop, and then there's a judgment call, and that's the problem. And these guys are getting thrown, and it's affecting when it's your top-notch player, like Purdue this weekend. One of their top defensive linemen was going in for a sack on Lamar Jackson and had some head contact, and he's out the game in the first half, which, Purdue lost by 7. That could have been a deciding factor. So when it comes down to it, they need to reevaluate this rules. And my other rant is towards the NCAA. You got a lot of old fuddy-duddies up there that need to get with today's game. This rule needs to be fixed. When the rule first came out, if you were hit with a targeting, it was a 15-yard penalty. If they reviewed it and you were found not targeting, they still kept the 15-yard penalty assessed, which basically means you weren't speeding, I gave you a ticket, but you weren't speeding, but you still got to pay the ticket. So at least they corrected that. But they need to fix this and get this under control, because it is going to affect a major outcome of a team season. And with as much effort and hard work that it goes into with the players and the coaches, I believe that this needs to be handled, or obviously it's going to impact, and I feel, as my father always say, they're ruining the game. And I usually hold off on saying that, but they are. This is a physical, violent game. It was meant to be violent. Yes, take out the dirty plays, but this is why we watch. We're not looking to watch flag football. We're looking to watch a gladiator sport. So that's my rant this week. And today's rant was brought to you by Beirut Palace. Hey, sports fans, where can you find exotic and friendly surroundings, fine dining, and the taste of the Middle East and American cuisine? The Beirut Palace in its 4 locations serves food just like a homemade meal in your own home. Hummus, salads of your choice, kebabs, and their famous shawarma sandwiches that are a great fit into any budget. So make your dining out plans and go to one of the 4 Beirut Palace locations. But if you're in Royal Oak, stop by the Beirut Palace at 205 South Main Street. Ask for Mo and tell him that you heard about the restaurant on the Rock and Turk Sports Show and get 10% off your meal. For more information, call them at 248-399-4600 or go to their website at www.beirutpalace.com. Do it today. What's going on, fellas?
What's happening?
What's up, man?
What's up, man? You got the sniffle, sneezes over there?
Man. I'm a little under the weather a little bit.
Okay.
So, but you know,
shawarma in your belly.
I think that's what it is. A little shawarma, a little hummus. But you know, as a true competitor, I fight my way through it. I'm like MJ, carry me to the stage, but once I get there, I perform. Light it up.
That's my man.
Highest level.
Game time.
Carry me, but in between the whistles, I'm good.
What's going on, Jay? Filled in for Dom, the referee Joe, who's again chasing comic book dreams of fandom and stardom. And
yeah. I gotta, and maybe we just need to do a reality show, because some of the people that he sees on these, I saw him with Ric Flair. Ric Flair is fresh out of the hospital. Like the last video I saw him, he looked barely like he was alive. I know he said, "I'm not dead." He had a T-shirt on, but he had the heart situation.
He
not down to taking pictures with
characters over there.
Crazy, man. I mean,
I tell you what, unless you can see it, did you see the one with the dude that was the little dude, probably like 12 or 11, dressed up like Aladdin?
Yeah,
he was riding some
on
mechanical
the
carpet.
That was hilarious. That was hilarious, man. It's funny that this is all over the place, though. This is like, you know, going hard. I thought this was like a seasonal thing. This is actually every weekend, every month, all the time.
Well, listening to him, though, you know, I think we both didn't
like, what's comic book season? Like, it's like NFL season, NBA,
it's
NHL.
like soccer season. It's all year round.
It's comic book season, summertime.
Tom's busy touring the country doing these Comic Cons, mostly in the spring and summer.
So my comic book, do they have an off season? Like, do we got?
Oh, man, I'm telling you, it's like soccer.
Training
Every
camp,
time you look up, there's a soccer league, somebody playing for some championship.
We got like you know, the workouts, combine. Comic book combine. Maybe that might be sorry. Comic book combine. We might be onto something.
Hey, before we get this show started, but this is one because me and Turk, we bring this up a lot sometimes. Did you see your man's is back in the news? Mr. Rodman is saying he's getting ready to squash all this. All he's got to do is get Trump and Kim Jong-un together in a room, and he's going to fix this whole situation.
You can hear it on the radio. If Dennis Rodman somehow gets North Korea to put the nukes down, because I'm going to be honest with you, the nukes got me a little nervous right now. I don't even live in L.A. Nukes got me nervous. If Rodman can get the nukes down and get Kim Jong and Trump in a room together and squash this, then I'll vote for him.
He said, I'll vote for him.
That's where I'm at right now. I will vote for him for president.
He just can't get a like or a hit.
Nope.
You got to give him.
He's getting a vote. He gonna get the official Rock and Turk Sports Show stamp of approval.
I want Dennis Rodman to referee a cage match between the two. That's what I want him to organize.
You know what?
Good luck with that.
When he's done being president, he may do it because he's a clown. He may say, "I'll do that. It'll get ratings." I don't know.
Trump is a coward, man. Oh, never mind.
You
don't have any. This show does not have any political
until he steps in the car arena.
Yeah, until he puts some boxing gloves on, we're done talking about politics. All right.
Hey Jay, before we get started, can you give out the information how people can get a hold of us during the show?
Sure. They can give us a call on our Skype line at 248-721-8570.
And you can also hit us up on our Twitter handle at Rockin' Turk Sports with a Z. That's Rockin' Turk Sports with a Z.
I know one thing we got to do, and I'm streaming it today. I'm looking at the comments. Some people leave comments on our Facebook page. So if we get any questions on there, feel free. We'll add them to the show, and as long as they're not ridiculous, we'll bring it up. And maybe it's a point of contention you may have, or just something in general. We may help you with your sports knowledge. We're here for you.
But be warned, if you come with some whack nonsense, you're gonna get hung up on real quick. Just saying though, because we've had some silliness.
Bring it.
All right, but before we get started, we just want to let you know that today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Blaze Contracting.
Turk Sports Show is brought to you in part by Blaze Contracting Incorporated. Blaze is a heavy civil site contractor that self-performs mass, surgical, excavation.
It's that classic battle, right?
Yeah.
The Detroit Brush Park development.
And that comes right after this.
Also like the Duel Caesars Red Wings Arena. Hey sports fans, if you're out there listening, you are involved in the development.
We got to.
And we got like basically 3 minutes on each topic. Because we gotta stay on time. And coach, we'll do the same way. The coach will sit over there and Spencer will sit right there.
Welcome back as we talk here in this week's weekly updates. It's a big week last week. For those who are not familiar, and you were under a rock the last week or so, you may have missed Hurricane Harvey, which decimated Houston. On a negative note, on a positive note, the Houston Rockets owner sold the Rockets for a reported $2.2 billion, which to date is now the record for an NBA selling franchise. The Houston Rockets, we wouldn't consider them one of the best franchises in the NBA. They're a plus franchise, but $2.2 billion.
A lot of Whataburgers.
Man, a lot of Whataburgers. The question I have to Rocco.
Yes, sir.
Number one, how do you feel about the timing? Number one.
I just think, from what I understand, it had been going on for a while. So I think
The public release of the information. How do you feel about it? Think it mattered? You think they had to do it because it was right before training camp started and they wanted to get it out so they know that there's a new regime in town, or could they have waited after all the
I know it's
mayhem?
gonna sound cold.
This is gonna sound bad. Whenever you do that disclaimer, it's about to be.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, it's just like anything. When somebody dies, right? You go to a funeral, but on Monday you go back to work, right? Life life continues. So with that devastation, the storm is gone. The rains are in Canada now. So now it's just the cleanup and the rebuilding. So at that point, and I'm sure these guys, where they stay that weren't affected. So the world is moving, and he's got to probably announce it, or the guy, whatever. I don't have a problem with it because maybe some people to bring a flicker, a light of hope. I don't know, but I don't have a problem with it.
All right, so let's look into the numbers now. Now, the man that bought the team, Tillman Fertitta, for people that don't know, he tried to buy the Rockets back in like 84, 85 for $81 million, and he lost the bid by $4 million. So the winning bid in 1993, not 84, 93. The winning bid was $85 million. He came back 20 years later, and he's buying the team for $2.2 billion. Yes or no?
Well, I think
this is a good move for him.
I think why it's not a crazy move is because I don't know if you know, he's the owner of the Golden Nugget Gambling Enterprise,
Yeah.
and also Landry's restaurant empire.
Shout out to Landry's, man. Good steaks. Good steaks.
Yes.
Never even heard.
Never heard of Landry's.
You need to get out, bro.
I gotta get you out, man. You
You
gotta get
got
out
one
west.
there?
West. You gotta go west.
You gotta go west.
All
You gotta
right.
go west.
Been there, but I didn't go there.
We gotta get
Yeah,
you
we know
out
where
there.
you went.
Rocket
It's
Turk,
a family
Rocket
show.
Turk Sports. We gotta go a remote show in Vegas and hit up Landry's. There's the Landry's out there.
Now, I got a quick question, because is this the same Fertitta that's part of the group that owns the UFC, and his
That's what I
son
wanna
plays
know.
at Notre Dame?
See, I don't know.
Because his son played, remember the Snoop Dogg show?
Yeah,
His son,
yeah. I remember,
Nico.
and none of the articles I saw, it said anything about that guy. So maybe it's the same family, maybe not the same guy. I don't know.
Okay. I don't know. I think here's what it is. It's just like anything else. So the precedent was set with the Warriors, right? Well, for $2 billion, which was a big deal at that time. And so now this, just like NFL teams. I remember when I was in high school, or college, it was $330 million for NFL teams. So I was like, well, if I'm successful in life, I can maybe. Now you're looking to get an NFL team. You know, Cowboys are worth like $5 billion or $4 billion, and you know all these sports teams and even these facilities now being built are worth $1.5 billion. So I think back in the day, or sometimes if you're not up to business or seeing things, you're like, damn, that's a lot of money. But it's kind of what the going rate is.
But I mean,
And Houston's a big market too. So
I mean, think about the rate of return. If you could take your money in 1993 and you could get 16 times worth now.
Yeah.
Now, we talking millions. We ain't talking about like on a dollar return. We're talking about millions of dollars. That's a huge increase of
But here's the situation.
of capital on a team. That seems a little bit much.
If you could, but you got to think in terms like this. We're still thinking in terms of what we have. But if you have what he has, and you're involved in the gambling business, that's a residual check coming all the time.
Spend 2.2 to make maybe half a billion.
If he let's say he goes and does the same thing that the other dude in Dallas, Cuban, did with Mavericks, make it state-of-the-art facilities, do this, do that, and then all of a sudden that team turns around in 10 years worth $4 billion. That's crazy.
My question is, at what point are these numbers gonna level off? Like 2.2?
It's never gonna level off, because you know what? As long here's what it is. People may be broke and people may be struggling, but it's not because there's not money in the country, just because whatever you do.
I still think it's got to level off, because this is way. I mean, just on. I know we're gonna get. I don't want to get into too much
Right,
economics.
it'll level off when interest dies down.
But I'm just saying, even with economics, inflation, unless these ticket prices are going somewhere out of the stratosphere.
It's the TV contracts, but that's why.
Yeah, but you know what? One thing about these TV contracts, what they're starting to realize is that
It's killing ESPN.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That
Disney,
it's hard to
Disney.
determine the actual marketing impact of these dollars. All it takes is one company to say that no, these dollars are not worth that much, and that value goes down.
Or one league. That's why I think everybody's so worried about the Colin. If you want to really understand the Colin, yes, there's probably some racism, but the thing is, if all the sponsors start pulling out and people start having problems, then that $9 billion TV deal is looking pretty expensive to these TV. So
Yeah, exactly.
I think you're right. It's just like any other market. If something fails, there's a problem.
Yeah. All right. So we know that. I mean, it sounds like a good deal for him. We'll see if he does anything different with the Rockets. Far off the court, it seemed like a good deal.
He is a third
long-term
cousin of the UFC guy.
Third cousin?
I know
Thank
the
you for
name.
the fact check. Shout out to Jay for the fact check. Third cousin. It's in the family though. So when they go to they have family reunion. I know black people have family reunions. Do we get? Yeah. Okay. The gentlemen get together for the family reunion. They all got on the shirts, right? You know, everybody on this side might have on the red. You got on the green. So the red, they probably own the Houston Rockets, and in the green, he own partial UFC.
You know what their shirts look like?
What?
They got pictures of themselves like Johnny Manziel giving the money sign.
Now, if somebody owns the Rockets in your family reunion and somebody owns part of the UFC, do you got to pay dues?
You got to buy them a Christmas gift. That's what I want to know.
I'm sure they just
Yeah.
That's not going to be an issue.
It's not going to be an issue. All right. So number 2, we got of course, my most hated NBA team. You wanted to bring them up in the picture, the Cleveland Bum Cavaliers.
Well, I brought them up because I saw this and then I said this has got to be. But there's real.
Yeah, but you know what? This is why they're a stupid franchise. All right. So let's get into this. Cleveland Cavaliers are talking about shopping the number 1 pick that they got in the IT trade with Kyrie Irving and package that in the deal to get Anthony Davis. Let me talk on this before. Number 1, all right, Cleveland. This is why you're stupid, all right? The only way you do this is LeBron signs a long-term extension. If he's gone after this year and you trade that first pick for Anthony Davis, essentially what you have done is you have taken Anthony Davis from New Orleans and you've created New Orleans North. Because he's going to be here putting up crazy numbers on a bad team.
But here's the question: is it like if the tree falls in the wood, does it make sound? If they want LeBron to stay, wouldn't this have to be this would be the only move I could see if he's just not determined to go out west, that keeps them. Anthony Davis, gives them a legitimate shot.
This is the thing. This is my thing though.
State.
If you're in salary cap purgatory,
Yeah.
right, and it's only Anthony Davis is not LeBron James, so he's a phenomenal player.
Well, they're going to
Love Anthony Davis.
They're going to dump Love, and they'll probably try to give it to Tristan or somebody.
But there are very few players that once they're on your team that you're title contender. Anthony Davis is not one of them.
You don't think so?
No, because look at New Orleans. They're not. I'm just saying, him alone is not like LeBron James alone on any team.
Yes.
They're an instant title contender. Anthony Davis, he's gonna need a little help. So I'm saying, if this team is coming, if they're gonna be without LeBron and Anthony Davis, it's a bad deal because now you got a $27 million contract a year that you got a high salary, and now you're just gonna be a team just waiting in the middle. You don't have any. There's who else is there? With Crowder. IT.
I'm just saying, I agree with you if they're just doing this a run-of-play type deal, but if this is that to just trying to put all your chips and win one title, or is this a move to keep LeBron? Because right now he's gone, and I think that's why the Kyrie thing, why there's not a lot of bad blood or beef, because I think he did. I'm gone, bro. You need to take care of yourself. That's what I think happened behind the scenes.
I think if there's any validity to the stories you hear, and he hates Dan Gilbert, I don't know if anything matters.
So Dan Gilbert might just be trying to win a championship and then have pieces. Now think about this: LeBron hits the gas. You have IT, you have Crowder, you have. That's three guys you can build around and maybe bring some pieces.
Now speaking of an owner who should have sold, Dan Gilbert should have sold.
He's got too much interest in Cleveland and Detroit.
Man, he should have sold. Man, that team. When LeBron leaves Cleveland, that team will go down by at least.
Well, he saw what happened.
I mean, I'm just saying. Next year, if they don't have LeBron, prepare for a 50 to 60% chop in his value.
I think he's going to eventually sell the Cavaliers and try to buy the Pistons.
No, he just has a lot of business. I think he's going to want to get out. The sports game opened up doors for him. They wanted to get casinos down there. He had a slight rumor that he was going to make a run for mayor. You know, he's got Quicken Loans now. They got Rocket Mortgage. I mean, he's buying up. A lot of people don't know he's bought up a lot of property downtown Detroit. Between him and the Illiches, they pretty much own all of Detroit. So I think he may want to get out the sports game. I think he just likes the glamour of it. I think it's not something that he needs. He just likes it. So I don't know.
All right, so number 3, man, and this one, I mean, this is gonna go into my "can we give this a rest" category.
Please.
Because Carmelo is out here like Carmelo just out here just.
He's a baby.
I don't even think people like associate him with the Knicks anymore. He's just out here waiting to see where we end up. And now it sounds like the Milwaukee Bucks might be in the market for him. I don't understand it because honestly,
well, I think he's still in the market for Houston, but they needed a third partner for the trade, and
that's not the way I read it. I thought they were saying that the Milwaukee Bucks came into the picture as a team interested in Carmelo and that Jabari Parker was on the table.
No, what they're doing is the Bucks. Houston still wants. They still want to get him. The problem is what they want to do is they want to dump Ryan Anderson's salary. He's making $60 million.
That's not gonna happen.
So what they decided was if they sent Carmelo to Houston, the Bucks give up Jabari Parker and Greg Monroe and John Henson to the Knicks, then they would possibly just take on Ryan Anderson's contract, the Bucks, and then just restart or something like that. So the problem is that what they want to do? Because the Achilles heel is Ryan Anderson. Nobody wants that contract.
Nobody. I thought nobody wants Greg Monroe contract either, though.
But he still played well. It's a bad contract, but he still. But you're looking at. But you're looking at. But they don't care. All they want is Jabari Parker. They want a young, because his contract for being a young star is a base.
He just can't stay healthy. He's a great player if he's healthy, but he can't stay healthy. So we'll see what happens. We'll put that on the Carmelo watch, right? Because apparently every week we.
You know what he's going to do? I think he's going to be the Ray Allen of. He's just going to be waiting to cut. He's not going to play. He's going to wait until somebody's desperate or somebody gets hurt and they'll take. I don't know.
But the Knicks still got him under contract and they have no reason.
This is all Isaiah Thomas and Phil Jackson's fault. Isaiah started this ball rolling with the Knicks. And
No, you will not get on this show and blame Zeke for anything.
Oh shit! Get out of here.
I
refuse. Man, stop it. Zeke is the greatest man ever to walk the palace of Auburn Hills. You do not talk bad about that man.
Anybody who ever argues when I say he is the Detroit fanboy, there you go.
Zeke, I know you listen to the show, man. Just remember, I was here defending you, and this guy was not.
So, that's my music. That's my ice cream truck rolling down the street. It is NFL opening night tonight. Starts at 7.
Now, how do you get the ice cream truck NFL music? I'm the NFL guy here. Man.
you're the NFL Lions guy. You're the I'll give you this. You are. I know the finance. You could maybe be. I'd have maybe be your assistant GM because you were.
I am a salary cap guru. I will work that cap.
Because sometimes you start saying stuff and I have to write it down and go home and be like, yeah, I didn't know that. So, all right, we want to get through these. So I want to talk to you because this is kind of my area of expertise. But I will say, from last year's high school season, we had a defensive lineman. I didn't think that had it or we had. Turk was like, no, man, I'm telling you, like, get out of here. I know what I'm doing. I was wrong. This guy was all-world, all kinds of records and everything. So I want to get my first talk with this D-line talk is.
I'm going to get a new shirt. The Rocky Turk Show is going to call I for Talent.
So the Seahawks, who already have a lot, I think they're a good team. A lot of people have been winning the NFC.
I don't think they're that, but go ahead.
I'm just saying that's what I don't have them. But that's
I got a lot of question marks still, but
defensively they're still good. You know, they had a good pass rush. They got good set linebackers. Back in, the window's closing, but Sherman and Earl Thomas are still good, and they got some other additional weapons now. So the Seahawks traded for. Traded Jermaine Kearse and a second-round and seventh-round pick to the Jets for Sheldon Richardson, and the Jets returned him and a seventh-round pick. So now you're adding Sheldon Richardson to Michael Bennett, Frank Clark, and Cliff Averill. This probably is now, to me, the best or second-best defensive line in the NFL.
I think from a pass rushing perspective, that is a scary group to line up again. Frank Clark, Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett.
But Sheldon and Bennett can hold it down inside as well. So I mean,
no, that's what I mean. I'm talking. No, you can run on that team. I think Michael Bennett's not a guy that I'm too worried about in the run game, but in the pass game, a guy that can line up all over the place. And Sheldon Richardson's a guy that's going to play inside, that could still play outside on certain downs as a 4-3 strong side end. That's a very scary group up front. So I think Seattle made a smart move. Second round pick, they're going all in. But I think what we're not talking about is the hometown hero. Malik McDowell.
Oh yeah,
I mean
he's coming back as well. But that's you. Now,
is he?
Well, they said he's going. His career's not over.
I've heard a couple different reports.
Well, the last one I heard is that it's probably not if mid-season.
Malik McDowell and Sheldon Richardson are the same type of player. They're guys that can play the 3 technique, who you can line up at defensive end in a 4-3, and as they run.
They can mix and jumble this.
So I just question giving up a second round pick for a guy that you drafted a second round this year for. Does it say
$8 million salary?
And I mean, he's in the last year of his deal. I just wonder if I hope Malik plays because he's a great player. I just hope that this doesn't mean that they don't have very good positive. Because I've read some reports that he might be career ending. I don't know how bad we don't know how bad it was, but he's not even with the team. He's back at home here. They sent him home because they said you can't do anything. So the facial injuries are worse than we thought. It's crazy that, you know.
I think what it is that this the defense's window's closing maybe another year. So I think they're going all in. We get it down to. What do you need to beat Green Bay? You got to get to Aaron Rodgers.
You got to get to Aaron Rodgers.
What do you got to do to
beat? With a 4-man rush. You got to get to him with a 4-man rush.
What do you got to do to beat Atlanta?
You got to get to Matt Ryan.
Right. So those are probably, to me, the two obstacles in their way.
What about what you got to do to beat Matt Stafford? That didn't come up in this.
Now, the only team I think that will give them problems, though, is Dallas. Dallas will give them problems trying to run the ball. But Lions just no, bro.
No, Seattle, I like what they did with the move. They went all in. You know, they traded a receiver. Jets are going all stink. All right,
bro. They are doing the process. They have done everything.
They are doing. I mean, shout out to New York Jet fans that paid to see that team this year. You the real MVP, because there ain't no way.
I mean, think about it. They got Leonard Williams.
I haven't paid for a Lions, and I'm a Lions fan. I haven't paid for a Lions game. I don't think I've ever paid for a Lions.
Well, no, they'd be big time like you, Mr. Blaze contract.
Shout out to Blaze. Shout out to Progressive Sweeping. This week's tickets are brought to you by Progressive Sweeping. Shout out to Progressive. All right. So no, I'm just saying. I wouldn't pay to go see the Lions if I would just watch it at home. And I'm a Lions fan. I wouldn't pay money if I get tickets.
Here's the worst
I couldn't imagine putting money up to go see these Jets, though. You don't even know anybody.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if there were some young, exciting players, okay, we're going to be bad, but hey, let's go see it. You have basically Jamal Adams and you have Leonard Williams on defense, and that's it. Maybe Muhammad Wilkerson if you just care about that. Other than that, you go to offense, there is nobody.
No receivers.
They're just straight up player deal. It was coach traded Phil Dorsett for Jacoby Brissett, and so Jacoby Brissett was obviously a luxury for the Patriots, but one issue said he has a lot of accuracy issues, and for that system up there, you need to be accurate more than having a big
Yeah,
cannon.
so perfect for the Jets. You don't need to be accurate.
Yeah. You mean the Colts? He's going to the Colts. Colts.
I mean the Colts.
Yeah. So now the thing with Philip Dorsett is the problem that they had in Indianapolis with him was he's a 9-route guy. That's about it. 9-route and post routes. He doesn't run his routes well, and he doesn't even play special teams. You figure a guy that fast would play some special teams. So the
The
Patriots.
funny thing is, I think he's gonna go to New England and become a player. Like,
Yep.
New England knows what they're doing.
Here's what they basically do. He's at the end of his contract. They're not paying him a lot. What they did was they moved Brian Hogan inside
To the slot,
to the
yeah.
slot, and
Chris
they got.
Hogan.
I'm sorry,
Chris
Chris Hogan. Chris Hogan. What their brother Rice would do. Then Brian Hogan's their quarterback.
Yeah.
So we got. But I think it's his yak yardage because he is a jitterbug and he makes people miss. And he's tough. He's a little tough dude. He's that little Boston. That's why everybody loves him there. He's a little
Yeah.
Boston attitude. So
It's going to be interesting to see them tonight. They play the Kansas City Chiefs in the opening game. I'm going to be very interested to see what they do offensively because Kansas City is a good team. They can rush the quarterback. They are missing one of their starting corners. I like Kansas City.
Defensively I like him, but
You don't like them offensively?
Me and you have different.
Tyreek, I don't know. I take this back.
I don't like Alex Smith at all.
Okay,
Period.
I thought he's looked better in the preseason. I know it's just preseason, but the running back they drafted, I wanted the Lions to get.
Hunt?
Alex
Yeah.
Leto is a game. The Kansas City Chiefs are 30-6 in games they win the turnover margin.
And also-
So the game for the night is don't turn the ball over Alex.
And also, Brady has struggled with Bob Sutton's defenses.
Yeah, I mean Kansas City's a good team.
I'm
We
not
giving you,
knocking the
if you're
defense.
listening right now, we're giving you jewels right now. All right.
Here's the thing, I'm not knocking the defense. You got Peterson. They played good last year. Now you got Peterson back, who is, like someone said, he's that Asante Samuel, where like he's a thumper, but he'll bait you. He's a guy that you have to worry about. They have a decent defense. If Houston's healthy. The Bucks picked them up right away. I think the Bucks defense was good. I think a guy like this with his experience, his communication, I think the offense is going to be good down there. I think the defense was the thing. I think give them a couple weeks. Now, granted, they're lucky they're not playing this week, so it gives them another week to get the system under his belt.
Yeah.
But I say if you're talking about week 5 or 6, I'm looking at this defense. If everybody stays healthy, this could be a dominant defense. I already had them as a
Speaking of
wild
that,
card.
and now when that happens, usually if it's a postponed game, it still counts as your fantasy week 1. They're not playing until week 11.
Well, I was going to get to that, but with fantasy stuff, it's just postponed. So if you have one of those players, which I'll touch on when we get to the fantasy segment, you just better pick another one because they're just going to move to week 11.
So it won't count for back. It won't be back there for week 1 because I got. a couple
Well, I don't
players.
know. I should say for
Because
DraftKings or
before-
FanDuel, if you're in a
Let's play Tampa Bay in December 10th. Watch out for a worn down team because they will not have a bye week, and that'll be week. That's about.
but they're a
week
young team. I'm not worried about them
12.
like Miami.
You still need a bye week, man. In the NFL, you need that bye week. Your body's used to it. You need that bye week. You like it somewhere around the middle, but
You know what
we'll
this
see.
is?
I
You know
don't
what I'm
know
doing
what
with my
that
fingers right here?
I don't know.
When they say it's the world's smallest violin and playing a sad song just for them.
So Zeke Elliott, man, what you got about Zeke?
Zeke, 6-game suspension was upheld, but because it took him so long to get the ruling out on the NFL was the person from the league that said, I looked at this, I didn't find her, and this was a woman that he dealt with too, said, I didn't find this girl credible, and I say no, I say 0 suspension.
Yeah, that's
And
some
so
tough thing
that's
to
what's
answer.
going to hurt them I think if it goes to federal, and they do, I think that's going to become a main issue sticking point. So, all right, here we go. We got our week 1 predictions. Hopefully, and we'll get to our college and high school picks. I am not doing well, so hopefully this will be this. So,
So you got the games, the games you want to go?
yeah,
Predictions?
I got. Mariota can run, and they've added some weapons around. Even though Tajay Sharp went on IR, they got enough people. I got them. Not saying I think it'd be a 27-20 game. 24.
I love Tennessee Titans, but I think if this was last year Oakland Raiders where we didn't know enough about them, I would go with Tennessee. I think this team, after last year, they got a chip on their shoulder and they're going to come out ready to play early. I like David Carr, not to mention he's my fantasy quarterback, and I got Cooper as my fantasy wide. knock him upside
But
the
you
head.
said he's not starting. They got Rawls to start.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but he's gonna play.
Yeah. All right, the next game. This is also the conspiracy theory why they let Ezekiel play, because this is the NFL with their bad ratings. I know I'm saying their ratings were bad last year, not because of Colin Kaepernick, because it was an election year, but they want to get the ratings up. So their marquee game is Dallas Cowboys versus the Giants. Giants beat them twice last year. Everyone is. But we also
Forward
love them.
down the field, a Lions team that will not yield. And when the blue and silver wave,
That's
stand and
he's a
cheer
fan,
the
bro.
rah, rah, rah.
He knows. I don't. Oh my God. So
I know the guy who sings that.
Do you?
Yep.
Hey,
I wouldn't even admit that.
Yeah.
So here we go. Detroit
Good brother,
Lions
man.
versus
Good brother.
the Arizona Cardinals. You heard my thoughts all year on this team. I am not sold because they did not fix the running game. I like what they got, the pieces on defense. I think they're going to be okay. I don't like they don't have a running game. You just gave Stafford all his money. We're going to wear his arm out the first year. I got Arizona Cardinals. Their window's closed, and their defense is not as good as last year, but they're still good. But offensively, everyone's healthy, and they're going out. This is it for them.
let me break this down for you, though. Let me break this
So
down.
I got the Cardinals.
I got the Lions, and let me give you. I'm gonna give. In the meet, in Kendichi. Is like probable, questionable, probable. Those are two very good players who may not play in this game. Look out for the Lions, Eric Ebron, and the Lions tight ends, the receivers in the middle of the field to be able to do some
Arizona
things.
Cardinals are definitely winning because he brought up Eric Ebron.
Eric Ebron.
I'll do it for you. This will probably be the only time I do it where I give you two full lineups on FanDuel and DraftKings. I don't want you taking all my money. So I'm gonna go through real quick. If you've never played FanDuel and DraftKings, what you want to do?
Should I get my notes out right now?
Get your notes out, man.
This is money making time, right?
This is real money.
This is
on
real
the
money
table.
on the line. Okay.
So
What you got?
When you play, you want to go to the GPP, which is a guaranteed prize pool, or the tournament.
GPP.
Yeah,
That's
or-
the tab we pick.
Or tournaments. So I get those backs that can really get a lot of passes. I got AJ Green, my other big time money player. He's $8,400, and now we got to start, managing and finding some sleepers. So I got Rashard Matt with Taj Sharp going down and Eric Decker being a little banged up. I think a lot of the passes are going to go to Rashard Matthews and Delaney Walker. So I got him in there for 6,100. At tight end, I got Austin Hooper. The biggest thing, my fantasy football lineup for you guys, now take advantage because I am not going to be giving you full lineups every week. So if you win some money, you're welcome, and just send a nice contribution to the Rock and Turk Sports Show. So, if you got anything to add on?
I am not a FanDuel. I'm not a DraftKings guy, so I couldn't tell you who to pick, where to go with any of this because I don't want to put money on the line for that, right? But if I was a betting man, I would always bet on Brady, number one. These would be some of my rules to follow. Bet number two, I would always play an angry elite running back who's looking at a 6-game suspension. That'd be Were we on week 7? I think we're on week 7 already.
20.
I'm talking about week 7 of the bum of the week.
Yes, I
I
do.
think we're on week 7 right now. That's 6 bums already. So we are on a roll right now. It's amazing. I say this every week that the bum of the week candidates never let you down. There's always guys out here who do things and you say, man, what are these guys thinking? And I think it'd be easy to just piggyback on the whole Roger Goodell. Do me a favor, Google the man, all right? Because the last picture you're going to see of him is in a white hoodie, getting arrested, going to jail. So, if somehow he gets that $500,000 bond money, and somehow he makes it out to the sidewalk, he's going to be broke. He's going to be hungry. He's going to be wet because it's probably going to be raining, and he's had a rough week. JT Barrett will still look like trash.
Yes.
You would come out of that game still thinking he
And
was
they, and Mike Weber, a local guy, he needs to be worried about his job
I still,
they say he's going to be out this week. So if this guy has another great game,
in Oklahoma, it could be trouble.
So
It could be.
All right, our second game, which we were both right. I had Florida at first, but with all the suspensions and the quarterback situation, we decided to go with Michigan. And to Turk too, I was correct. I don't know. You picked. We had the Virginia Tech versus West Virginia.
I told you Virginia Tech. I told you about Josh Jackson.
I know you did, and that's what I'm saying. I didn't know anything about. I knew he was
You
from
know
here.
about him now.
I know about him now. I didn't
Fred
know
Jackson.
I didn't know.
Jackson's
Yeah, I
son.
didn't know Fred Jackson was.
You know he
Fred
went
Jackson
to,
from
and for
Michigan.
just to further that story, he went to Ann Arbor Huron.
Yeah.
And for 2 years, and then he transferred to Saline. So that's why a lot of people don't know who he is, because for a year he was kind of, nowhere, and then he just came to Saline, had a good year. What Daddy says, Ohio to Michigan, if you out there, because Daddy knows what's best. Don't
All
pick
right.
against Daddy.
So our side games of our alma mater. So USC, I picked to be a blowout. Now I did pick USC, but Western Michigan gave them about all they could handle for about 3/4 until the depth and the talent just.
And we definitely got to talk about Western and this Michigan State game this week.
Season for number one and for them, but also the big team. When the teams that are in the middle down start playing well, then it's just overall good for the league. So
Let me tell you an interesting fact of the day for Saturday in college football.
last week or this week?
Last week,
Okay.
the Big Ten was undefeated until Purdue played.
Oh, I thought he was gonna get some props numbers, and then he gives us that. Next, I'm gonna remember that. I think USC may put some points up, but I think that Stanford's gonna control the clock, and I think Stanford's gonna win this game.
I love Stanford in that pick. I know they went to Australia last week and they were on a business trip and went out there and they did what Stanford does. There was no mishaps. There was no miscues. They looked like they were at home. So it's a bunch of no-name guys at Stanford now, but they are still a powerful offensive line. They can run the ball. They stop the run, and that's what's going to win them the game. Darnold is losing money right now. Last week he did not look good, and he's coming back this week where he's not going to have a running game. It's going to be all on him. We'll see if he can get it done. I think USC's got a lot of question marks after Western Michigan punched them in the mouth for 3.5 quarters. I think Stanford wins that game.
So this one, now that's kind of our big rank games. We got number 8 Michigan versus Cincinnati. I'm gonna go with Michigan, but I think Cincinnati will lose.
Oh, here we go.
All right, now for our side, we already talked about Western Michigan, MSU. I'm going to go with Western Michigan, but I think I'm going with MSU, but Western Michigan, they may have a chance.
We have a chance, man. What?
This is still Big Ten versus MAC, and you can't just say they're
Hold on, man. First off, don't disrespect the MAC.
I'm not disrespecting,
Right.
but I'll tell you, Michigan State is a good football team.
No, they're not. They are not. I don't know what you watched last week. I know it's Bowling Green. I told you I didn't like the staff. That's my alma mater. I know. I told
Man,
you
we
I didn't
gotta
like
go,
the
we
staff.
gotta go, we gotta
I'm
go.
just telling you, Western Michigan's going to win that game.
Purdue versus Ohio. I got Purdue and Bowling Green. If you guys don't win against South Dakota, then you don't. James earned his bachelor's degree and master's degree in exercise and sports science from Wayne State, and he also has a certification through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. Since he's been done in his playing days, James worked with amateur and professional athletes and teams over the past 10 years, including 2 different Big Ten teams, and he is currently now the owner of Big Game Performance LLC in Wixom.
Actually gave me that name, Big Game. I made some big plays in some big games, and reflecting on how hard I worked to get to that point and make some of those plays, I said, hey, it's made sense.
Is it Big Game James or just Big Game?
But he would call me Big Game James. I
Okay.
just
No,
put
that makes
points
sense.
on there.
Big Game James. Okay.
So well, first of all, where can people reach you and where is your facility at exactly?
Well, actually, I'm inside of another sports facility.
Obviously we heard with the old people, but when obviously the crux of your business is high school and college and professional athletes. So what is your, because everyone's got their thing, what's your specific training philosophy?
Well, I mean, this is a human performance company, and it's a holistic approach to training. So I talk to my clients, my athletes about their nutrition. I talk to them about their sleep habits, their recovery, their supplementation.
With this company, because everything, you know, as an athlete, we always got a plan, got to go. What's your end goal? Like, well, obviously, you know where you're at right now. Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years with this?
Well, definitely going to expand into physical therapy, bring in maybe a dietitian. I just want to have, like I said, it's a holistic approach, and just grow, get bigger, and offer more service.
On today's athlete.
I definitely would say I have had an advantage having been a sport coach and coaching football, high school football, being out there with the kids and seeing how they move and how they play and being able to take that back to the gym and back to the lab, so to speak, and adjust for that.
Cooking them in the kitchen, get put out monster. So one of the last things we'll talk about, because me and Turk, you know, we don't pull punches, and guests aren't safe when they come on here. So you went to Farmington Harrison.
Yeah. To pick a school in Farmington to close, I think it'd be North.
That's where all the money's at, bro. We're not gonna close that school.
There's some location there issues too, location wise. Just it's right in the middle. They're gonna end up splitting it
Yeah,
up.
you go this way, you go that way.
Yeah, north and south.
Yeah, understood.
It's muted, so.
The coach is right there. Vince over here. James, you can just, if you want to stay, you can just sit over there.
Was that it?
Like
All
so.
right, here we go. It is high school football. All right, this.
Last couple of years, so I don't know what's going on down there.
So me and Turk, the pros, as we said, we were both wrong.
Both
on that
wrong
one.
on that one, and
So-
I never picked CC.
Never, and I never picked it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that lets you know. So the next game, obviously, Turk, you know what his answer was, but I had said that Penn was going to come down here, and I didn't think, I said it wasn't going to be a blowout, but I thought it was going to be like a 28-7, 21-7 game. And Penn came down here and ran all over Brother Rice, 38-0.
Ran. I'm pretty sure that I dominated both college and high school.
Well, actually, we finished the same this week, so.
How? I picked. Hold on.
Hold on,
I'm
wait,
3-1 right
I'm
now.
gonna get, no.
No, I picked this game. I picked Utica.
You lost Whitmer.
That's the only one I lost.
You won you lost Rice.
Oh yeah, that don't count.
You
How can
won
I lose
Simeon. You love Simeon. Hey, bro, I told you to get involved in this. So
All
you
right.
guys, I thought Macomb. This is a big game for them. I know Eisenhower had a big win the week before. I said, you know what, Dakota's going to regroup. They're going to come back up. Dakota got manhandled 42-16, and you said that.
The game was that close because I thought West Bloomfield would be able to out-muscle them as an offense versus their defense. But, you know, you get a ball to Paddock with a chance to win, there's not many quarterbacks that I would be worried about over Paddock. Like, if I had to pick a quarterback in the state of Michigan to get a ball to last couple minutes of the game, Paddock's in that short list.
Here's the problem, like you say, and we have some guests in here we'll get to. We pull no punches on this show, right? We keep everything.
punches.
And the thing that we said is, and I know people do this, but West Bloomfield was stacked. You got 16 to 17 guys that are either going by their junior, their commitment. I've seen St. Mary's is really small on both sides. I got Penn thrashing them.
Yeah, Penn's a big team.
And they're going down there.
Yeah, and it's in Indiana, so I like Penn in that game.
All right, second game, we got Saline, Temperance, Bedford. This is a close game. I was leaning towards Saline, but because the game's at Temperance, Bedford, I'm going to go with them maybe by a touchdown.
I like Saline this year, actually. I think Saline bounces back. But
Right.
they're a pretty good program.
I picked this because it's just two undefeated teams. It's Bloomfield Hills and it's Clarkston. I got Clarkston. I think Clarkston's going to spank them.
I think I'm gonna ride the wave of John Paddock and the golden arm until he loses. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Paddock in this one.
All right, this game, in past, I would say because I saw
When I do that type of stuff,
You got it. I'd love to.
you gotta cut the mic off.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Speaking of being out coached,
Yeah.
I thought that was gonna be a perfect drop when you said West Bloomfield got out coached. Coach C, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Guys.
How you doing?
We have Coach Mike Zdebski from Walled Lake Western. What is going on? Nice and spiffy, ready to go, and now have your coach stuff. And then actually we announced it wrong because someone had texted us in right before you guys had scored. It said game's over, West Bloomfield won. And then we get out of here, and they're like,
Sam Johnson.
Sam
Sam scored a touchdown to win the game, right?
Sam did score the
Okay.
winning touchdown.
Yeah.
Both touchdowns were rushing touchdowns for him.
So I said, okay, they got something cooking over there, and I knew that you got you guys kind of are reloading every year now. You guys are you got a tremendous.
And Joe's, you're going to be pretty good, and we have those type of kids right now. We have great support from administration, from our principal Joe Bell, athletic director Harvey Donahue, district AD Brian Schweinhart, in the building with our other two assistant principals. It's a fabulous place to teach and work. I think our teaching staff is extremely supportive of our students and our athletes, and it makes it a very functional and successful environment.
So that was my next question: what makes Walled Lake? Because I keep seeing all these guys coming in here. What makes it, as a parent, why should I send my child to Walled Lake Western?
Well, I think it starts with the academics, with our International Baccalaureate program. So for those like a John Tracy that wants to go on and play at a Princeton, Ivy League type of school, we have the academic resources for those students to be successful and the proper classes where they can score well on those standardized test scores. And we even have a great, foundation programs for students that may not have been successful in the environment that they were in.
Okay. So and with this, so obviously seeing guys like John Tracy come on, you guys have had. So as I was reading, I didn't even know this. I knew you guys were sending guys in college, but over your tenure there, you sent 75 guys to the next level. So when I'm looking at that, I'm looking at all the wins, I'm looking at your accomplishments, I'm looking at the program the school's building. What are you most proud of? Your winning achievement, your state titles, or sending that many kids off to, number one, get their education paid for, but also to keep their dream alive and keep playing?
I think it's more of the lessons in terms of development as a person. Values of being on time, hard work, commitment, sacrifice, being fair and good to other people, being a good, productive person in society, being a good father when the time comes, a committed and loyal husband when the time comes, those type of values.
And I can tell you what, just how I work out at Lifetime Fitness and Commerce, and so I run into a lot of your players, and there's some other schools that I run into because they're wearing their paraphernalia, and I will say that's how you look at how people carry themselves. And I know kids are kids, but most of those guys do carry themselves in a respectful, decent, when there are people around, where some of these other schools have been some clowns. And I've known that they've played sports, so that's also a testament. I've heard, just sitting in there, hear parents talking and your name comes up sometimes, and nothing, I never hear anything. Obviously kids and their coaches, they're going to say, oh, but the parents, the people, they're going to say, what, like coach is a good job, coach is fair, and those are kind of things that you want to hear, especially if your kids are going to be playing.
So speaking of the parents, I know you're in the Walled Lake, you're in the Novi, Wixom, right there in that little sweet spot. With Walled Lake Central being there, are you guys both really intertwined into the Little League programs all the way up there, or is it just more of you don't see these kids until they get to high school?
Now we have two separate feeder programs. We have the Walled Lake Braves that feed into our building. They've set it up in such that based on geographically where you live, that's the youth program you're going to play for.
Okay. So Walled Lake Braves is the one that goes to Walled Lake Central, goes to Walled Lake
Western, correct.
Okay, all right. I didn't know about the Walled Lake Braves. That's new to me. I'm over in Novi, so this is all
Bobcats.
You're scouting.
My wife went to Walled Lake Western.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, many years ago. She was from Saginaw, but she moved down here. She went to Walled Lake Western. So that was long before we met. But yeah, that's her graduate school of choice.
That's her hood.
Now, honestly, when we were at Brother Rice and I graduated in '98, I think that year, I can't remember. The quarterback was really good.
Frank Stanford.
Frank Stafford.
Yeah,
Frank
he was
Stafford was a
dynamite.
very good player, and there was a kid that
Chris
came
Payton
down.
followed him right after that.
Yeah, and there was a kid that came down to Bowling Green. I played at Bowling Green, and his name was James. I can't remember James' last name. He came down for a visit, but he ended up going
James
somewhere else.
King.
James King.
Yeah, went to Central Michigan.
Went to Central
University,
Michigan.
correct.
Yeah. James was a good kid. He
Good
came
choice,
down.
James.
Yeah.
Here you go.
He's a lawyer out in Washington, D.C. now.
Is he?
Great choice.
Wow. Wow. What are you doing right now, man?
Bowling Green bones.
Hey, if my Falcons are listening right now, call in because we need to get on this Purdue bummer maker over here right now talking about rival schools. But go ahead.
So last question for you, Coach. You know, and like I said, this opened my eyes. I mean, I knew you were good, but when you see the numbers and everything on paper. So I still don't think that your name is brought up with, even though this is on paper and what you've accomplished, it is an elite program. What do you think you need to do you need to be, because like when people say Brother Rice or they say Harrison or even West Bloomfield or Clarkson, those name states that have kind of been there, they're coming up. But you guys are there working, pounding away. What do you need to do for you guys to be recognized as one of the elite schools, even though you are, but I guess perception-wise?
Win the state championship. I mean, you know, more than once a decade. That's one. Two, to be highly rated consistently, which we've been able to niche it into. Correct. And then the next thing is to win those non-league games and win those big non-conference games, even play out of state, because that's what we're looking to do next year, because we have a number of juniors and sophomores that are very talented.
And that was one of my
to say we might be better next year, I don't know, could be. But, you know, that's the type of game we're going to look for, as long as our conference will allow us to keep that opening game open. So we can go find someone in a big school environment.
That was one of my questions. I know it seems like the bigger programs, as far as maybe Harrison is not one that's done it historically, but the bigger programs start to look out of state again, match up with other big programs, and that really builds your brand when you start to do that. When you see, you know, Cass, you know, playing, you know, Pickerington, it was a big program in Ohio, or even Brother Rice a couple years ago playing Brother Rice Chicago and Ignatius, and you know, you see CC doing the same thing with Ignatius, and that's really good for Michigan. But you know, specifically, it's good for your school because that regional, you start to get those regional matchups. Now you start to get listed in USA Today as a top 50 program. And I know on paper it doesn't matter, but as a school it matters because that stuff goes into your stat book. So it matters in some aspects. Anytime they're keeping track, it matters.
That's why we've been posting to our kids the Midwest regional rankings from the USA Today.
Yeah.
So that's a goal as well.
So today, you brought a behemoth with you, and there's not too many people that walk. There's no one that's bigger than me when they usually walk in here physically, right? So I had told our one of the other owners and one of our co-hosts, I said, here's a guy going here. He's going to be pretty big. So what Coach brought us today is Mr. Spencer Brown of Wall Lake Western, the recent Spartan commit, which I won't hold that against you. But what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good.
We got you some food out there. Did you take care of it?
Yeah.
Okay, because we had Mo from Beirut Palisade. We got a big boy coming. You got to help us out.
Stuff those swarmers a little tight today. We got a big boy coming. Yeah.
So what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, man. You the myth, the legend. I met you when you were in 8th grade at a camp.
I don't think, and just speaking on that, actually, I had you in drill. I don't know if you remember this. I had you in drills. You were a skinny tight end.
Yeah.
And
I thought
remember,
he was a helper. I thought he was one of the high school kids that were helping. They're like,
big,
man,
tall,
he's in the camp.
skinny. And I said, and I remember hearing that, you know, this kid coming. I'm like, you probably was like 175 pounds at that point.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you obviously, you don't put on the pounds. You playing that left tackle and that D line right now. So totally different animal, man.
I thought you was gonna be Hoover because I saw you Lifetime one time, and I think you just got back from a term out in Vegas. I'm like, oh, we lost another one to hooping. And then next thing I see, I was like, boy, my man got big. So let me ask you a couple things. So what I've seen you play, Turk seen you play. You're a good football player, man. You are obviously leading your next level. What first of all, who was recruiting you outside of Michigan State in your process?
Schools like Alabama, Florida, Oregon, Clemson, State.
You're a 5-star. You got a lot of big boys, power 5 after you. So what what made you decide to go with the Spartans?
Because like I fell in love with their coaching staff, you know what I mean? I felt like they kept it real with me, and their education is good. I mean, it's close to home, so you can't get.
So that was a big thing.
So you got a younger brother, and I know you're close with your family, so they'll be able to see your games. That's important. A lot of people don't think know that you're a junior, so you got. I mean, you're 6. What are you, 6'6"?
Yeah.
6'6", 280.
No, 300. No.
You 300?
Yeah.
Good Lord. So I mean, this guy's a junior, so you got one more year before you even step on campus. And I know I read some places where Michigan State is excited to want to play you on the offensive line, which sounds like they want to kick you at left tackle.
Yeah.
Is that are you saying I'll play either side of the ball, or are you just sticking to the offensive line and just like wherever they want me to play, I'm gonna play?
Wherever they want me to play, I'm gonna play. But I think I'm gonna end up at left tackle or offensive line.
So I asked this because Elijah Collins was on here, and he's kind of the same thing. He's got a lot of. He's an athlete. He can play anywhere. So I asked him, when someone asks you what position do you play, what do you say first?
Offensive line.
That's
Okay,
the
so
position you play.
That's because that's what I do. Because I asked him, he said running back, right? And everybody's thinking that he can play this and that, but that's where your heart's at, right? That's what you want to do.
And we had to convince him, but after watching him, we played against him first weekend. I mean, we won the game, but the guy is probably as good a running back I've seen in the state of Michigan in a long time. I'm talking about Elijah. So I know he listens to the show. That's a good play. But speaking of this, I know Coach Z mentioned it, that Wally Western got a really good junior class, sophomore class. The state of Michigan in general, if people are really into recruiting and they look at high school, the 2019 class in Michigan is going to be one of the better classes you've seen in a long time here. As far as the amount of quarterbacks, you got 2 phenomenal offensive linemen. You know, you got Spencer Brown here and Devontae Dobbs out of Belleville, who are both extremely highly recruited. But there's a slew of talent at all positions right now. So it's really looking good for Michigan, because in the past, you know, people say that, Michigan is not a place where you go to get top level recruits and all of that stuff. But I think since I've been coaching, I think it's gotten better and better every year. From, may have been a lull for a while.
It was because of 2008, people leave.
Yeah, people left, but now I think it's really starting to come back. And as I mentioned before, you look at it, Notre Dame's got 3 defensive ends from Michigan, one of them from Harrison, who are in the rotation. I mean, and they're not even in the Michigan school; they're at Notre Dame. So that speaks to the talent that we're getting in Michigan right now. So it's really exciting to be in high school now, seeing where that stuff's going. So go ahead.
So let me ask you a question. So you've been over there, you transferred over, and your short time with Coach, what have you learned from him? Not only because he got into not only talking, which I like, most coaches they don't get into. He got into the on the field and off the field. What have you learned from him? Number one, off the field personally, and then also what have you been helped by him on the field?
Off the field, it's been a blessing to have in my life, because he taught me how to be a better person, and most and foremost, a better student athlete when it comes to school, to get my grades right, most and foremost, and just to do things the right way on the football field, how to be just dominant, you know what I mean? Get me in the weight room, how to do stuff the right way, and just be better than everybody on the field. So it's just been a blessing to have.
So I'm going to tell you something that your coach has probably told you. It's so you've got the hard part out of the way as a commit, right? The distraction. So what I want to tell you, what I tell my players, that's just a commitment on both sides. Nothing set in stone till you sign. You need to go out there, and like you just said, you need to play like an animal, right? You need to show, because the thing that happens is we had some guys, I'm not going to say names, we had a guy at Rice that was highly touted, committed early. And what happened was, the reason that I believe he's not where he's at is because his play did not measure up to what he was, right? And when you're a big time name, and you're going to start seeing the pressure and all eyes on you, you need to go out there, not to prove to anybody, but you need to continue to get better. You need to play harder, and you need to and also the ego part. But ego's not a bad thing, and being a little cocky is not a bad thing. You need to go out there and make sure, because you know what, I tell you this, and I know this sounds bad and it's kind of cocky. There are guys that I run into all the time, and I played against them. I don't know who they are. You know what that means? It means I kicked their ass, and I made an impression on them. So that's what you got to do. Keep going out here, keep lighting people up, keep having your coach and the state coaches brag about you like, you're their adopted son. But don't take your foot off the gas, because if you listen to Coach Harbaugh, he had some guys, it was a big deal last year because he didn't bring a guy in, because the guy committed, took his foot off the gas, and he said, well, no, I can't have that. He's not going to do that. So you keep grinding, keep going. Coach, I like what you're doing over there. like I said, I met some of your players. I mean, just not telling them who I was, just talking, listening to his questions and what he's doing. Be a little more excited, bro. You gotta.
Yeah, he's chill.
The longer you tired, because we got a cow back there. We can chop it up for you and cook some steaks, man.
I'm good.
No, he's just laid back, man. You know, he's just laid back guy.
You wild on the field though. You get crunk out there. You let them know what's up.
Yeah,
All
man.
right. You and somebody's there every play. Like I just don't do that again.
Well, you know, you guys, I follow you guys a little bit, and you got another big offensive tackle too. I can't remember his name. Right?
Jacob Dean.
Jacob Dean. All right,
He's 6'9", 310, 320. He
You
might
know,
be
so,
330
so,
as
so
well.
Wall Lake Western has a 6'6", 300-pound left tackle and a 6'9", 310 right tackle.
So it's
So we
two
put him at left guard next to the big
Oh, he's
fella
left
here.
guard. So this we
So
going
left.
left. We're going
It's
left.
two things. You either got a bunch of professional athletes living out there, or it's a Ninja Turtle thing. There's some toxic waste in the water that y'all are drinking, because there's a lot
Well,
of.
let me get some of that for my son because he's only 3 right now. So we need to get him ready for that big time football, whatever it is.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming in. You guys are playing tomorrow.
Waterford Kettering at home.
I
2-0
was going to say
Waterford
Mont,
Kettering.
and I knew it wasn't Mont, so I didn't want to say 2-0. I didn't want to put the pressure on you guys. I was going to put that down with the games pick, but I think you guys go out there. I didn't see film, but I saw the Milford score, which I expected to be that. I think you guys. I'm expecting to see you guys at the end of the year again competing. I think with the team that you have, I think that you can push, which I'm sure your goal is to push through and get. That was a tough one. That was a tough game last year. It was a good game, but it was tough. You had a little stalled out on offense, but you played a good team. But I think this year is the year of the Warriors, the Western, Wall Lake Western Warriors. So thank you guys, Deb, for coming in. And with that, just wanted to let you guys know that today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Blaze Contracting. Appreciate it, guys.
Oh, thank you so much. That's a great opportunity. You
Good luck this
provided us. Oh, thanks.
So what I
We'll take it.
300?
What we'll do is we'll get that segment chopped up.
Yep.
And we'll get you guys photo on it, and then I will send you the link to
Okay.
it. And you guys can however you
Well, then
want.
we'll paste it out and blast it out to our entire community.
And I will, the show will be, the podcast will be up tomorrow. So I'll also get that up for you. And then, we'll blast you out on social media again. And then, just anytime, obviously, if you guys can get to the end, we'll have you guys come back in once we get some.
Yeah.
the players.
Don't worry, he talks a lot more when you get to know him. He won't stop.
You know, Elijah was like that. All of them come in
They
there,
all
and
come in.
they look at the microphone, they get a little intimidated. They start.
Yeah.
But I figure you either hungry, or you was angry, or you just didn't know. But it's cool. What
So the other lineman is
Turk always
a
says,
senior,
this is
junior.
it'll be
Good
good.
Lord.
As long as you should-
Quarterback's junior.
these are
I know
the
Sam's
ones that,
junior.
Tell
I
us
got a kid
You're
that
gonna be in front of my camera.
been
a lot of
mediocre
radio,
for 2 years. He's
same thing
junior.
out
He's
there.
6'2",
So you just wanna
6'3",
make sure that
305,
when
310.
people see you,
He's
you
playing
engage
nose
and
guard
smile
on
and have
defense,
fun, but it's a
and
learning
he is
experience,
just
but
tearing it
and
up.
you want people to.
I know,
so
how's Justin
football
doing?
players, remember.
Yeah, 10
it's
seconds,
rock.
Rock.
It's advising.
Yeah, I saw
He
him.
snatched a few out of the air.
Rock.
I liked him. I saw them when they were playing.
5 seconds.
He played. Did he play Rising Star? I went out to Carolina. Oh, we got a little excited in here. I almost forgot what we were doing. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. We actually had an action-packed show. Make sure you check it out on the podcast. For those that did not hear the whole show, we had James Cook on from Big Game Performance. We're going to post his information on our website so that you can get in contact with him. His facilities is located out in Wixom, Michigan. So make sure you check us out and listen to his interview. He's got some really good information for people looking to train, whether they be adults or young teens, and a holistic approach. We also had Coach Z from Wall Lake Western, and one of his best players, Spencer Brown, the big fella, left tackle, who's a recent commit to Michigan State. Make sure you tune in next week. We've got more talk about the NFL and about what happened in Week 1. That's always going to be big. We're going to follow up with the big game that we had in college football this weekend. Oklahoma, Ohio State, who you got? Michigan State's got a big one at home against Western Michigan. Me and Rocco were split on that one. And Auburn, Clemson, I think that game is going to tell who's a pretender and who's a contender. Also, we got some big games in high school sports as we listed the top 5. You know, you got Cass Tech in action. You got, obviously, Brother Rice traveling to Elkhart. We got some big games to review from last week to see who came out on top. We'll have some more interview people here for the interview next week. We'll post those during the week on our Facebook page or on Twitter. Rocco, what you got?
None, just everybody, thanks for listening. Also, don't forget, if you're in Royal Oak, head over to Beirut Palace. When you're making your dining plans to go out, visit one of the 4 Beirut Palace locations. And when in Royal Oak, stop by the Beirut Palace at 205 South Main Street and ask for Mo and tell him you heard about the restaurant on the Rockin' Turk Sports Show and get 10% off your meal. For more information, call them at 248-399-4600 or go to their website at www.beirutpalace.com. Get it done.
Yeah. We gotta get your information from
We also want to get some
Yeah, we
pictures.
got a picture.
Okay.
I guess we can put it on the front of the podcast.
You almost got about tiptoes. Don't get mad, bro. I ain't got to stand up too much.
Stand on the chair.
You only a little bit of time, man. I used to eat people like you all day.